12 years. 12 years of doctors who couldn't help her. 12 years of money spent until there was nothing left. 12 years of being told, don't touch anyone, don't come close, you are unclean. 12 years of being invisible. And then one day, she heard a name, Jesus. She had nothing left to lose, nothing left to try, nothing left to give, except one thing, one desperate reach. What she did next should not have worked. She didn't have an appointment. She didn't have an offering. She didn't even ask him to stop. She just reached, and everything changed. The Bible doesn't tell us her name, and maybe that's the point, because she isn't just one woman. She is every person who has suffered quietly for so long that they stopped expecting anything to change. What we know about her is this. She had been bleeding for 12 years, a condition that in Jewish culture made her ceremonially unclean, which meant she could not enter the temple, could not worship in community, could not be touched without making another person unclean as well. She was not just sick, she was isolated, excluded, invisible, the kind of person people cross the street to avoid. And she had tried everything. The Bible says she had suffered under many doctors. She had spent everything she had, and instead of getting better, she got worse. 12 years of trying, 12 years of failing, 12 years of hoping and being disappointed so many times that hope itself started to feel dangerous. Maybe you know that feeling. The feeling of trying so hard for so long that you start to wonder, is there even any point anymore? And then she heard about Jesus. We don't know exactly what she heard. Maybe it was the story of the leper he cleansed. Maybe it was the paralyzed man who walked. Maybe it was just a whisper passing through the crowd. There is a man, and he heals people. Something shifted inside her. Not certainty, not confidence. She had been disappointed too many times for that. But something. A flicker. Small enough to ignore. But she didn't ignore it. Because here is the truth about desperation. When you have tried everything and nothing has worked, you stop caring about what looks reasonable. You stop worrying about what people will think. You stop calculating the odds. You just move. She made a decision that day that took everything she had left. She was going to find Jesus. Not to have a conversation, not to make an appointment, not even to ask him directly, just to touch the edge of his garment. That was her entire plan. Not his hands, not his face, not even a word from his mouth. Just the edge, the very tip of his robe. And she believed, she genuinely believed, that would be enough. Stop and think about the kind of faith that takes. This is not the faith of someone who has everything going for them. This is not comfortable Sunday morning faith. This is the faith of someone who has been beaten down so many times, and they're still moving forward. This is faith with nothing left to prove and nothing left to lose. She pushed into that crowd, a crowd she was forbidden to enter, because if anyone recognized her, if anyone knew who she was, they would have removed her, shamed her, sent her back to her isolation. She risked everything on one reach. She reached out her hand, and she touched the edge of his garment, and immediately the bleeding stopped. Just like that, 12 years gone, in a single moment with a single touch, from the edge of his robe. She felt it in her body before she could even process it in her mind. Something shifted. Something that had been broken for 12 years was suddenly whole. And then, Jesus stopped walking. Who touched me? The disciples were confused. Master, there are crowds pressing against you from every side. What do you mean, who touched me? But Jesus knew. He felt power go out from him. And he knew it wasn't accidental contact from a passing crowd. Someone had reached for him deliberately. Someone had touched him with faith, and he wanted to find that person. She could have disappeared into the crowd. She had what she came for. She was healed. She could have slipped away quietly, and nobody would have known. But Jesus stopped, and he was looking. And so she came forward, trembling, terrified. She fell at his feet and told him the whole truth, everything. 12 years of suffering, the doctors, the money, the desperation, the decision to reach for just the edge of his garment. She told him everything. And Jesus looked at her and said, "Daughter." Not woman, not you there. Daughter. One word that carried everything. You belong here. You are not unclean. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are mine. Your faith has healed you. Go in peace. Be freed from your suffering. 12 years of isolation ended with one word, daughter. So what does this woman teach us? First, desperation is not weakness. It is often the beginning of a miracle. She didn't come to Jesus put together and confident. She came barely holding on. And Jesus didn't turn her away for being too broken. He stopped the entire crowd for her. Your brokenness does not disqualify you from God's attention. It may be exactly what gets it. Second, you have nothing to lose by reaching. She could have stayed home. She could have said, "I've tried before, why would this be different?" But staying home guaranteed nothing would change. Reaching gave her a chance. Whatever you're believing God for right now, you have nothing to lose by reaching one more time. The only guaranteed loss is the reach you never take. Third, a small faith in the right direction is enough. She didn't ask for a miracle. She reached for a hem, the smallest possible contact, and it was enough. Jesus didn't say your confidence healed you or your perfect prayer. He said your faith. However small, however trembling, it was enough. And fourth, Jesus will always stop for you. Hundreds of people were pressing against him that day, but he felt her touch. He stopped. He called her daughter in front of everyone. He made sure she didn't just leave healed. He made sure she left seen. Whatever crowd you feel lost in right now, Jesus still feels the desperate reach. He still turns around. Not physically maybe, but in ways people cannot see. If you have been suffering quietly for longer than you can remember, if you have tried everything and you are almost out of options, I want you to hear this. You don't need a perfect prayer. You don't need the right words. You don't need an appointment or an offering or a reason why you deserve to be healed. You just need to reach. Even if your hands are trembling, even if you've reached before and nothing happened, even if you can manage just the very edge, the smallest possible touch, reach anyway. Because Jesus is still walking through your city today, and he still stops for the desperate reach. Tell me in the comments, what are you reaching for right now? You don't have to share details, just drop it below. Let's believe together. And if this story reminded you that you are not invisible, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone who has been bleeding quietly and needs to know that Jesus still stops. Every shepherd knows not every story gets told, but this one needed to be.